Whew. Okay, hello adventurers and welcome back to my channel. I was in a museum and enjoying it so much, but it was so large and in charge that I had to step away and come out to the van and have a snack. Now, the nice thing is when you visit this particular museum, this is the Buffalo Bill Center of the West, and they have numerous museums within a singular location. And so a single ticket here gets you a couple of days worth of admission. You just have to hold on to your receipt. So that's what I did. I went ahead and came outside. I had myself a cheese stick. And now I'm ready to tackle part 2 of this museum. Now, ultimately, again, there are numerous museums. They're all very large and in charge. Each one of them has so many details. And so I decided rather than shortchanging you guys and just kind of skimming through, that I was going to do a deep dive into Museum 2 and a few extra features. We're kind of working our way through the center. And as we're doing that, I'm showing you some of the things that they have. But here we go again. Here we go again. Back into the museum we go. We start out here at the monarch of the skies, the golden eagle in greater Yellowstone in the American West, where we can learn a little bit more about the efforts that they have gone through to not only track but protect the animals and how they make sure that they are healthy and what that job might look like. And it is absolutely a must watch. You must watch this. This is part of the Draper Natural History Museum, and you can see conservation tools that they use in the field itself and how researchers use a variety of methods to study the golden eagles. They also have a lab here, and they're currently studying birds and small mammals, and it is a working lab. So inside this area at any given time when you're visiting, you may see an activity happening inside this space right here. And along the walls, you can see a variety of different kinds of animals. You can see research freezers back here, and they are truly diving in and trying to find out more about all of the critters around. The gallery here is expansive and it is filled with knowledge. There are a couple more videos, there are several displays. They even talk about how the indigenous people have used the golden eagle in the past and why it is so significant. They're considered to be apex predators, and they're especially at risk when the environment changes, which is why here we learn about environmental impact and changes that we have as well. Inside this case, you can learn a little bit more about the larger eye sockets, and then also the fused backbones, the long hollow wing bones that they have, and so many more parts of the actual bird, so you can understand how it moves and also why it looks the way that it does. In addition, we learn about petroglyphs in this section and how it is illegal to possess eagle feathers and parts. They are a part of the indigenous culture, and so there is a great video here as well. But we have to go up top so you can see what I'm currently standing on. You're just not going to get as good of a view from here. In this exhibit, we learn about the Cloverleaf Formation and how many fossils that they have found. But in addition, you can also touch screen on this one and learn a little bit more about the various points of reconstruction of dinosaurs, how they find dinosaurs, and then also how they find and recover fossils. And there's a variety of options that you can go through, but also they have the Buffalo Bill Historical Center's first director right here and some dinosaur facts. And there is a small excavation site that you can look at. That's like a mock-up excavation site, so you can learn a bit more about how this works exactly. The very first person who was in charge of this place, back in the 60s, there was something that was found and it was shipped off for observation at Yale University. And it wasn't until 2010 that it was brought back here to the Draper. And now you can see it on display, which I think is really neat. Something else that they really focus on in this particular section is how climate change is absolutely impacting this area and how they can see it high up into the Teton area and all the way down into the lower plain area, and how it's really starting to impact the vegetation, the water production, the animals, and everything that is associated with that. And so again, they're hoping that through talking about these things that we can start conversations about more sustainable ways that we can exist in this world, because it's getting harder and harder for the normal things, like this guy right here, just because of the climate changing and the temperatures going so far out of whack. Additionally, there are some other information pieces here about the other things that you can find in this area and how that they take advantage of seasonal changes and be able to navigate through their diet. And so again, going back to that climate change area, this is why it impacts how the lifespan of these animals are living, and it shifts the predator to prey structure because some of these animals are not being able to sustain life the way that they were previous. There are areas here that say please touch and others that say please do not touch. And so if you see this little handprint, you can touch and learn a little bit more about the texture and feeling of each of these items and what they look like up close. And I think that's a really good way to get every age group involved in learning. Here we learn about how Native Americans would take advantage of the cliff sides, and they would hunt bison by basically running them off. And when they would run off, they would go and harvest things, and then they would find these giant bone beds of bison bones, basically. And piles of stones were placed along two lines to help guide them into a more narrow area so that they could do this. Learn about all of the various little tiny critters here as well, like the prairie dogs who would tunnel below and make good homes that would keep them safe from other animals, and harvester ants that would dig up clues for scientists, including teeth and bone fragments. Also, all in this region, they have found black-footed ferrets, and they formerly were in Canada and Mexico, and they live in basically prairie dog towns, but it's because that was like their infinite source of food with prairie dogs. As we're introduced to each section, there's a little sign that tells you where you're going and then also what the elevation would be for that area. And each section has a different set of critters. So before we were on the prairie, and now we're in the mountain meadow. Here we learn about how that they actually put together the bones and learn about each of the animals through the bones. And then you can see the corresponding video, as well as a section here about a real Build-A-Bear workshop and how long does it take to actually put a real bear together. About 2.5 weeks to reconstruct one bear. Just one. Construction is only part of it. They have to prepare each bone. So the entirety of the process of getting these things together is over 2 years because they have to prepare each thing painstakingly before the reconstruction, which takes about 2.5 weeks. Two skeletons that we see here, there are some facts about them. Who built them? Where did they come from? What does it mean to articulate a skeleton? Are the skeletons real? And the answer to the are the skeletons real is a resounding yes. And where did they come from? They were brought here by the Wyoming Game and Fish Department, and then the mountain lion itself was actually caught in a snare in 2010, but the grizzly bear had been captured and relocated a couple times to deter it from approaching human dwellings in search of food. And during the second capture, a large wound was found in the back of his head. He lost about 80 pounds as a result of infection, and he had to be euthanized. Brings me back to a very important lesson. This is why we should not interact or feed the bears, because then they get used to humans doing that or try to go and get the food from humans, and that creates really big problems for everyone, including the bear. In fact, here we learn a lot more about being bear aware and how we can avoid conflicts with bears. There's a video, but there's also a corresponding set of information here from the National Forest Service. And I think that this is something that if you are planning on recreating anywhere in this area, you should definitely be watching. And oh my goodness, look. It's a mountain house. All of your trash. In this room, they have an interactive learning center, and you can come in here and participate in some of the various activities. But also, they have like a little puppet show and some other things, in addition to some of the programs that they have here on site. Now, arrive at the mountain forest section. Each section is filled with so much information, and you need to look up and down because as you're moving around, you'll be able to see the various habitats for different things, as well as what might be hidden below ground. Additionally, there is a forest sounds area where you can hear what a squirrel sounds like, as well as a warbler. Behind the screen is another video, and then each of these little areas tells you a little bit more about either a geological or an animal-based item that applies to this section. This is so expansive. Right outside of Yellowstone, we learn about the geothermal activity that happens in this area, and that there were at one point in time more than 10,000 geysers. In fact, there are about 200 to 250 of them are right here in the Yellowstone region now. Also able to get a close look at a bear, not only a large bear, but a small bear in this section. And this is about as close as we should be getting. We don't need to be getting this close to anything that is actually living. The video that I watched downstairs was really, really heartbreaking. It mentioned that once the bears start to act out and lash out and go to campsites and have to be removed, typically the only thing that they can do is relocate them, and if the problem persists, they have to euthanize them, and they do not want to do that. And it was so sad, so sad. So please do not interact with the wildlife. It's not just dangerous for you, it's dangerous for them, and you're in their home. Remember that. Whenever you're visiting these places, that is where they live. So respect their space. Get to this section, we finally have made it to the Overlook, where we can see the greater Yellowstone area, and you can see a mosaic map here at the Draper that actually is 27,000 tiles in 24 colors. This thing is huge. I wish someone would walk across it right now so you could just see how large it is, but it is so big. And you can see marked on the map very clearly Yellowstone National Park and Grand Teton right there. And then you can see over here this dot. We're over here in Cody right now. Additionally, in this area, again, we have more amazing displays telling us more about things like the marmot and other critters. But as we move around, it gives us another look into the alpine environment that you can find here in this region. This again was the Draper Natural History Museum. It's a part of the overall larger museum. It is amazing. Definitely check this one out. At this point, we are now at a bit of an impasse. There is a hall this way, an art gallery this way, and clearly this amazing room right here. Not a place that you're going to go through rapidly. It's going to take you some time to get through all of the different parts. And again, I'm just giving you a very overview look. There's so much in each display. If you watched every video alone, you could be here all day long, literally. And I am so geeked out by all this knowledge. My brain is just doing the brain thing. I think yours will too. We will have a brief walkthrough of Portraits of the West. This is a James Bama's photographs, and it says here from October 21st, 2023 to August 4th, 2024. The illustrator moved from New York to Washington in 1968. It says here that he actually moved from New York to Wyoming in 1968 and began making photographs of his Western friends, including the old-timers, children's, and rodeo performers. Here there is a QR code, so you can have an exclusive behind the scenes, and you can also find this, which was his self-portrait. This is the self-portrait, which was echoed across the wall from this, and inside here are a variety of portraits that he took, and he has them classified into various subject matters. I will show you a few of these, but as you can see, the room is large. There are a lot, and I want you to really take these in. These are mostly black and white, and so they're going to be very beautiful, high contrast photos. And we're going to start off here with performance, pageantry, and powwow. Again, each one of these has been taken by this artist, and celebrates the people within them, but also the culture and style behind what it is that they are doing. Some have a bit more of a modern take, while others definitely are more nostalgic. And around the room you can find quotes from this man as well, including this one that says, "I use the West as a vehicle to say what I want about life." But to inspire us all, they have a photo booth here that you can actually use as well. And by doing so, you can set the tone for your own photo shoot using the props provided and create your lasting memory of the West and tell your story through those voices. This is the way that it works. You sit down and you pick the screen that you want. So I have the green screen behind me, but in fact it looks like this. And you can select a variety of different ones. And then you hit next. And then it gives you a countdown and it puts you in black and white. And then after you've done that, you can email it or text it to yourself, which I think is pretty cool. As we move out of the gallery, we move over to the field station cabin, and this was made possible through the Rosewood Foundation. And this shows you the various levels of rock under us, the formation of the Rocky Mountains, landslide information, and an explosive story that we just need to find out more about. This tells us about the hotspots located in Yellowstone, and as you can see, there is an instructional video to tell us more. This building serves as a classroom to us all. And you might hear some clicking. There's this little scavenger hunt thing kind of around the museum that the kiddos are participating in, and you get these stamps. That's what the clacking sound is. In this cabin, we learn about the exploration of the region and how we explore the area. But just outside, we learn about how we create the maps and learn more about the geology in the region. It mentions that we need nature because we need natural resources, but exploration is only the beginning. We also learn how things work. By exploring in nature, we create hypotheses and make observations so we can learn more about how the plants, the resources, and the land change over time. Here we can learn more about what it is to be a naturist. There are various activities in here where you can take a closer look using magnifying glasses and see which teeth belong to which animal and learn more about those animals and being able to discover something new. But overall, this cabin is filled with history and photos and learning. And I appreciate that this resource is here, again, so close to the national park. The ability for us to come to a place like this and learn from the land and learn from the people and learn from the people who've been here before us is incredible. And so this particular part of the museum is such a resource for us because we learn about early exploration and early nature. And I think that's just part of the bigger story of this region. Which brings us back to where we began, the Buffalo Bill Center right there. On the opposite side, the Cody Firearms Museum and the Whitney Western Art Museum are inviting you to come and join. Art lines the hallways and takes you into the main cafe area right over here. Now in this direction is the Plains Indians Museum, but there is also an exterior space that we can go and look at. I'm so excited about this one. In fact, in this exterior space, they have a raptor program at both 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. And then you can walk through the beautiful gardens out here and see all of the sculptures. And there are some gorgeous sculptures here. I now see why when I got here they told me that this could be a 2-day experience and your ticket gets you in for 2 days, because I've only gone through realistically 2 full galleries and I've been here for hours. There are so many incredible things here, and this is definitely someplace that if you are coming through Cody or staying in Cody, you have to put on your bucket list. Wow, they have real bald eagles. Sadly, this particular eagle was injured whenever it was much younger and it never healed, so it couldn't be in the wild. So they have it here and they've given it a quality of life through enrichment so that it can still be functioning and be able to do things. And I think that that's incredible, but more so because it gives us a glimpse at what a bald eagle really truly looks like in all its majesty. And I think that that it's just a once in a lifetime experience to be able to see. And so the shows are at 10 and 3. And I say show, but it's more so of an exhibition so that you can see what the eagle can do. So if you are here, check for that exhibition. It's incredible just to see the eagle, but to be able to see it moving and explaining all of the different features of an eagle and why they're incredible is something else. Moving outdoors, you can find Buffalo Bill's childhood home. I think that's pretty neat. Not something that you could just see anywhere. And that is, of course, the namesake of the museum here. Here we find a series of details about the Cody home, including that it was a typical townhouse in the agricultural frontier. It was attached to a lean-to back kitchen, and upstairs there were 2 or 3 bedrooms, and on the ground floor there were 2 big multi-purpose rooms. It also mentions that none of the furniture from the 1850s is known to have survived, and that they did move this building to this property. And by doing so, they actually used in 1933 the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy railroads to transport it all the way to Cody, Wyoming. And I think that is absolutely incredible. Now this house made a long journey from Iowa to Wyoming by train. And so it had to be loaded up and then brought here and then put into place. And now it just serves as a lasting reminder of the legacy of Buffalo Bill, which is pretty incredible. And this museum has showed us through several different perspectives the vision that Cody had for this area coming to life and being a thriving place that would bring in tourists. I've seen hundreds of people here today, maybe even thousands. It is a very busy day. And because of that, I think that the legacy that he had and the vision that he had created is truly living up to the hype today. And that Cody, Wyoming is here because of Buffalo Bill Cody. And I think that that is pretty spectacular. $23 for an adult was well worth it to get the brain wrinkles that I have today. Remember guys, we're not here for a long time, but we are here for a good time. I'll see you guys later, but check out all of this other part of the museum because I don't want you to miss out on this. Till next time, bye.